Belize is on a timed mission to convince its peers that we have taken all the necessary steps to combat money laundering, terrorism, and its financing. Today, the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee held its Anti-Money Laundering and Combating and Financing Terrorism Conference. Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, Chris Koyi, told us about the strides that Belize has made to receive favorable peer review assessment findings that begin later this year.
All this effort in terms of this conference, the establishment of the Institute of Banking and Finance last night by the University of Belize, and all the legislative efforts that we are making, combined with the participation and involvement of various enforcement departments, are really tied into our efforts to gain a favorable consideration in terms of the fourth round mutual evaluation peer review upcoming in December of this year.
The peer review will require Belize to demonstrate compliance in two specific areas. Belize is taking the necessary steps to meet those requirements to keep up with international standards.
One is technical compliance, and technical compliance means our laws. Okay. Basically, we have to have legislation in place that meets with international standards, specifically the Financial Action Task Force standards. They have a list of 40 recommendations that they've made, and country by country they go and do peer reviews and look at whether their laws meet those standards. And if they don't meet the standards, then you run the risk of being blacklisted. And if you get blacklisted, then you have problems with your international transactions, including correspondent banking relationships.
The requirements apply to every member of the peer group of countries. Belize, by virtue of its geographical location, falls into a vulnerable zone, as highlighted by the U.S. Ambassador to Belize, Michelle Kwan.
This event invites the sharing of best practices that will help keep Belize and the region safer by ensuring that money does not fall in the wrong hands. Belize is a prime tourist destination, as we all know, regularly making the best places to travel lists globally, but Belize's prime location and the structure of its financial sector also, regrettably, makes Belize an equally desirable destination for money laundering and illicit finance. Belize's anti-money laundering compliance efforts therefore require a dedicated and rigorous approach to respond to these challenges.
In tandem with meeting the requirements, last week the House of Representatives tabled the Money Laundering and Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act, which, along with the Financial Services Commission Act, will give teeth to our legislation in tackling money laundering activities to enhance the standards and the regulatory powers of the Commission. Along with these, the extradition bill was also tabled in the House. Its modernization will help us to meet international standards. In the next few months, Koyi says, there will be a slew of other legislations, including the Civil Assets Forfeiture and the Unexplained Wealth Orders Bill. These bills will also need to be passed into law before December, when our efforts will be reviewed. To help keep those in the financing sector in tune with how to detect money laundering and terrorism financing activities will be the University of Belize's newly established Department of Banking and Finance, as its president, Dr. Vincent Palacio, shared.
There are several courses that are actually required by persons working in the various sectors, in credit union, in the banks, in these other, even the pawn shops. There are certain certification courses that the workers, the employees need to take. And the institute, the UB Institute, will provide these courses for them. As a matter of fact, we're building the training calendar as we speak. And there are 8 different certification courses that we're ready to offer. And they look at various aspects of the financial crime, anti-money laundering, financing of terrorism, and several aspects along those lines.
The program offers convenience for those who need to enroll, since it eliminates Belizean students from having to travel abroad and from being away from their families. Reporting for News 5, I'm Marion Ali.